So, you're thinking about getting back into the Elder Scrolls Online, or maybe stepping into it for the very first time. Hard to believe, but this game has been around for more than 10 years now, and it's still going strong. As someone who's spent an absurd amount of time in it, probably more than anyone should, I can tell you exactly what's great about it in 2025, and what still might drive you crazy. ESO today isn't the same game it was when it first launched. Over the past decade, it has evolved constantly, sometimes in exciting ways, other times in directions that raised eyebrows. One of the most welcome changes in recent years is the complete overhaul of the new player experience. Back in the early days, starting out in ESO was confusing. You were thrown into a world full of overlapping storylines and too many choices, with almost no direction. That's all been fixed. Now, new players get a smoother, clearer introduction that feels focused, guided, and much closer to the classic Elder Scrolls experience fans expect. At its core, ESO has always been an MMO built around freedom. You can go wherever you want, whenever you want, without being locked into strict level or gear barriers. Its horizontal progression system means that powerful items can come from anywhere, whether it's a dungeon that launched last week or one that's been around for 10 years. That design keeps the whole world alive, giving every piece of content a reason to exist. But freedom always comes with trade-offs, and ESO has plenty of both. Strengths that make it unforgettable and flaws that can test your patience. If there's one thing that defines the experience, it's the combat. Forget about the slow, turn-based rhythm found in many MMORPGs. ESO uses a fully action-based combat system where you have to aim, dodge, block, and weave light attacks. It's fast, it's skill-driven, and it divides players right down the middle. Some people love it, others can't stand it, and very few fall somewhere in between. Where the game truly shines, though, is in its insane level of character freedom. Classes aren't locked into roles. You can turn any class into a tank, a healer, a damage dealer, or a hybrid of all three. You can even become a vampire or a werewolf, then further refine your character through skill lines, passive abilities, and champion points that let you fine-tune your stats. For players who enjoy experimenting with builds and tweaking every little detail, it's heaven. And if you'd rather not think too hard, the community has tons of pre-made builds ready to copy and use. The world itself is enormous. Tamriel, the setting of ESO, brings together the most iconic regions from the Elder Scrolls universe: Skyrim, Morrowind, Oblivion, and many more, all connected into one vast living world. When you zoom out from a town to a zone, from a zone to a continent, and then to the Daedric realms beyond, you realize just how massive this game really is. For longtime fans, it's both nostalgic and breathtaking. But while the world remains beautiful, the structure of how content is released has changed dramatically. For years, the schedule was predictable: a dungeon pack at the start of the year, a big expansion in the middle, more dungeons in the fall, and a new zone by the end of the year. Recently, that rhythm has been completely reworked. The developers decided to drop the final quarter zone, and later even the third quarter dungeon updates, saying they needed time to improve the game's performance and quality of life. Now, in 2025, they've taken it further by abandoning the traditional chapter expansion model in favor of what they call seasonal content. The idea is to allow more flexibility, releasing new types of content when it's ready, instead of sticking to a rigid annual schedule. This change has some players excited and others nervous. Many suspect that because the studio has been working on a new MMO for several years, this could mean a gradual shift of focus away from ESO. However, that new project is rumored to be an entirely original universe, so it's not meant to replace this game. What's certain is that as long as players keep logging in, ESO will keep evolving. If you prefer to play alone, ESO offers a mountain of solo content. Over 8 years of expansions have created a massive single-player experience filled with hundreds of fully voice-acted quests. The game features top-tier actors like Nolan North, Kate Beckinsale, and John Cleese, who breathe life into every storyline. The quests themselves follow the familiar formula of talking to characters, defeating enemies, and collecting items. But what makes them stand out is the writing and the delivery. Side stories often have surprising depth, humor, or emotional weight, and many players find them more memorable than the main quests. The game lets you explore freely in any order. You can start anywhere, go anywhere, and do anything, which makes it perfect for teaming up with friends even if you're at totally different stages in the story. Quest sharing works smoothly, and progress updates together, so you never feel out of sync. If there's one downside to the solo content, It's that the difficulty has dropped over the years. Most enemies fall too easily, and many players have been asking for a tougher challenge. The developers have confirmed that they plan to adjust that. But for now, the solo experience is more about storytelling than survival. Group content, on the other hand, is where the real challenge lives. ESO has over 40 dungeons and 10 large-scale raids called trials. Every year, new ones are added, and because of horizontal progression, even the oldest content stays relevant. The quality of these dungeons is on par with, and sometimes better than, what you'd find in other major MMOs like Final Fantasy XIV or World of Warcraft. Trials usually take between 30 and 45 minutes, depending on how difficult you make them. Group content in ESO comes with 3 levels of challenge: normal, veteran, and hard mode. Normal is beginner-friendly, while hard mode will punish you for every mistake. If you've been craving a real test of your skills, this is where you'll find it. One of the most impressive technical features in ESO is its use of mega servers. That means all players in a region, like North America or Europe, share a single massive world. Because of that, Tamriel always feels alive. You're never running through an empty zone. Even in the middle of nowhere, you'll see another player sprint past on their own adventure. However, ESO still isn't cross-platform. PC, Xbox, and PlayStation players can't play together or transfer accounts. The PC version remains the most populated and supports community add-ons that dramatically improve the interface and gameplay. Console players will soon get access to some add-ons too, at least on the newer systems, which is a welcome step. When it comes to player versus player combat, things get a little messy. ESO's PvP is both brilliant and frustrating. There are 3 main ways to do it. The first is Cyrodiil, a giant open-world battlefield where massive armies clash over castles and keeps. The second is Battlegrounds, smaller matches with 2 teams fighting for kills or objectives. The third is the Imperial City, a hybrid zone that mixes PvE and PvP, where you never quite know who you'll run into. PvP in ESO has a very high skill ceiling. You will get destroyed at first, but if you stick with it, you'll eventually start winning. Not because of your gear, but because you've learned the timing and mechanics. Player skill matters more than stats here. The biggest drawback is performance. During peak hours, large-scale battles in Cyrodiil can get laggy, and frame drops are common. Smaller modes like Battlegrounds usually run great, and the Imperial City performs well too, though it's often quiet outside of special events. If you like small-scale duels or fast skill-based fights, PvP in ESO can be incredibly satisfying. Now, let's talk about money. ESO is a buy-to-play Ememo with an optional subscription. You can usually grab the base game for under $20, which is an incredible value considering the amount of content included. Without the subscription, you'll still have hundreds of hours of gameplay, but you'll miss access to the newer half of the game, including certain dungeons, zones, and raids. The bigger inconvenience, though, is storage. Crafting in ESO involves hundreds of materials, and without the subscription's craft bag, your inventory fills up almost immediately. The subscription, called ESO Plus, costs around $15 a month and gives you full access to nearly every expansion, the unlimited craft bag, and a monthly allowance of premium currency to spend on cosmetics or other items. It's honestly a fair deal. And since the subscription became optional years ago, players can come and go freely without feeling pressured to log in daily. However, that freedom opened the door to loot crates. While they only contain cosmetic items and no pay-to-win mechanics, the rarest rewards have drop rates below 1%, so they can feel frustrating. After Microsoft acquired the studio, they introduced the Endeavor system, which lets players earn those premium cosmetics over time through daily and weekly objectives. It takes dedication, roughly a year of steady play, but it's nice to know that even the most exclusive rewards are achievable without gambling or paying extra. So, where does that leave us in 2025? ESO remains one of the strongest, most content-rich MMORPGs on the market. It's packed with a decade's worth of stories, incredible voice acting, and a world that feels genuinely alive. If you're drawn to deep lore, exploration, and customization, this is still one of the best choices you can make. The solo experience is relaxed and narrative-driven, while the group content provides real challenge and excitement. PvP might not be the developer's top priority these days, but when it works, it's thrilling and skill-based. The combat system is fast and fluid, rewarding practice over power. Customization in ESO is another highlight. You can change nearly everything about your character: your skin, your tattoos, your personality, even your housing. The game offers hundreds of cosmetics you can earn and thousands you can collect. The housing system in particular is in a league of its own, with a creative community that treats decorating as the real endgame. And thanks to the mega servers, Tamriel never feels empty. Wherever you go, you'll cross paths with other players chasing experiencing their own adventures. If you've never played ESO, there's a decade of content waiting for you. And if you left years ago, this might be the perfect time to return and see what's changed. In the end, ESO in 2025 is still a living, breathing world, a massive MMO-RPG that continues to prove why it's one of the most enduring games of its kind. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Tell me in the comments section if you have already played ESO or if you now want to. If you like my content, do not hesitate to subscribe. It gives the necessary strength to all content creators. Now, I just have to wish you a good day, a good evening, or a good night. Thank you very much. It was the MMO-LOVER.